Hi, sir. Good morning.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Okay, I've seen your assignments. Everything looks good. Ashish, your assignment looks good. And Kanha, your assignment also looks good. Just a few review comments on Ritika. It's regarding the language. Rest everything looks good. Like steps were not that descriptive.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So instead of like writing in this way, right? First log in Instagram by giving user ID, password, go to edit. This shouldn't be the language. The language should be in this way. Either you will basically write the user should do this, the user should do that, or else you have to like be a little bit more descriptive. The language is moreover less descriptive here. Go to edit profile. It should not be like that. Tap to edit profile button or something like that should be written. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Rest everything looks good. I think you guys got the understanding ki kaise likhna hai. I guess, right? Everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. So this is how you basically write the document test case. Okay. So major job, right? The most important job of a test engineer is to derive scenarios and write a test case. This makes testing like impactful basically, because puri testing, your whole testing will be depending upon what test case you are writing on, right? How are you writing the test case? Okay. So basically you have to practice these two things in a good level, not to just clear the interview but to also survive in the industry. Okay. So do practice it. And apart from this, right, now you guys are like, we are actually going to complete annual testing within a week or so. So basically I want you guys to prepare your answers or prepare your topics. ठीक है, नोट्स बनाओ अगर नहीं बना रहे हो तो एक एक टॉपिक का, like if someone asks you what is functionality testing, so you should have a proper answer to say. Instead of thinking that particular instance of time, you should know that what you have to say, right? So that you will not your brain is not taking time to process it, right? So basically it should be very fluent. So for that you need to prepare your answer. Okay. So each and every topic which we have studied, just go through the topic, prepare an answer, proper answer which you want to give to the interviewer. Okay. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Cool. I don't have the host access. Sidhu sir, can I have the host access? So today we're gonna start SDLC. I think we have already. No, we haven't started SDLC, right? Cool.
सर मैनुअल टेस्टिंग कब खत्म हो जाएगा?
हो जाएगा, इस वीक में हो जाएगा. I think he's AFK or what? I don't have host access. I can't share screen. But on a higher level, I can tell you what is SDLC. ठीक है? So SDLC, किसी को पता है क्या? What is SDLC?
Software development life cycle.
Correct. But what is it? We know the full form, software development life cycle, but exactly क्या है? अब देखो, I'll tell you one example. ठीक है? So फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल, करंटली हम लोग इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, इमेजिन करो इंडिया इज इन इट्स समवेयर अराउंड 90s और इंडिया इज इन 80s, 1980s, और अभी क्या नई नई बिल्डिंग्स बननी चालू हो रही है इंडिया में, ठीक है। किसी को अच्छे से पता नहीं है, कोई आर्किटेक्चरल कोर्स नहीं है प्रॉपर, जो बिल्डिंग्स वगैरह प्रॉपरली हर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोच के बनाने का प्रोसेस बताए, ठीक है। समझ रहे हो मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, कि वी आर इन द डिस्कवरी स्टेज ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन, ठीक है। तो ऐसे टाइम पे अगर मैं आता हूँ और मैं बोलता हूँ कि आई विल गिव यू अ प्रोसेस, this is a step by step process, if you follow this process you will end up developing a good quality and a very strong building, ठीक है। तो मैं क्या बोलूंगा, मेरा ये प्रोसेस है। देखो सबसे पहले तुमको क्या करना है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू नीड टू गो एंड सी फॉर अ प्रॉपर लैंड wherein you have to construct a building. The land should be not what you call it as like muddy or something like that. If you want to construct a good altitude building, 10 floors or something like that, so the land should be not muddy land, or it should not be like in a place wherein you see a lot of water. So if you find a lot of water, you need to extract it and then try to dig a hole and give a proper base for that particular building. This is your first step. Second step is to do a proper design. You'll create blueprints for your particular building or something like that, and then I will give you a few steps, right? Then you hire a engineer, architect, and then you do what? Then you do hire a proper constructor workers. Before that, you do purchase all the raw materials which is needed for the basement and all. Floor by floor, you'll purchase the raw material and then make everyone do their work and then try to manage things. So this is a process, step by step process. First thing you need to do, second thing you need to do, third thing you need to do, something like that. Correct? So I have given you a standard. Correct? Isn't it? So
Yes, sir.
the same thing happens in software industry way long back. When industry is evolving, everyone is developing software, but there is no standard, no process proposed by anyone. Then someone came in and say that I will give you SDLC, software development lifecycle. This software development lifecycle is giving you different stages, is giving you different process through which you can follow that process and develop a high quality software. So they give you step by step process so that one can follow those process and end up having a good quality software. Let me just give it a call. I think he forgot to give me host access. Apart from that, any questions regarding any previous topic, anything, guys? Anyone? No? You forgot to give me host access. Yeah, thank you. It's okay. Give it a second, guys. I've opened the PDF, but just I'll get the host access and share. Okay. Okay, I got the host access. Cool. So what we were talking about SDLC. So SDLC is basically a step-by-step process which gives you idea how to develop a software, and you can also call it as a step-by-step process to develop a software. Basically, okay, this is the definition. Now the thing is that they have given you few steps. You have to go through these steps, and you will end up having a good quality software. Now there is certain problem, I'll tell you. For an example, I want to develop a 10-floor building. So the process for developing a 10-floor building will be different from a process of developing 4-basement building, isn't it? A building which have 4 basement, the process will be different, and the building which should have 10 floors above the ground, the process is different, isn't it? Correct? Yes, no, anything, guys?
Yes, sir.
So the problem is that, try to understand the problem. This process is generic. This is a generic process which anyone can like understand. And then this is the basic process. If you don't have a explicit or different kind of requirement from your end, you can go with this process and you can develop a software. But if you have a different set of requirement, a special requirement, a special condition, then you have to go for a different route, although that route will be depending upon this only, but it will be having a different kind of requirement, a different kind of process, so that the same thing, right? When you try to develop a 4 basement building, the process will be different. So what they did, for a different kind of requirement, they have proposed a different model which has their own different steps. Although those steps are being driven by this basic SDLC processes, बट द थिंग इज दैट वो लोगों ने जब अपनी हिसाब की रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से बनाया एक पर्टिकुलर मॉडल, so they have created a specific model for that kind of requirement. For that you can go with if you have that kind of similar requirement, you can go with that particular model. So what they have done, they have tweaked this particular process of standard process of SDLC, and they have created their own model, so that if there is a specific requirement, you can go with that particular kind of model. समझ रहे हो? I'll give you one example. यहाँ पर SDLC में क्या होता है, you get the requirement at the beginning stage, but spiral model में क्या होता है, when the client itself is giving you requirement in stages, one module, then another module, then another module. In this, at this time, you can't follow the standard module, because you need to get all the requirement by hand before you start your whole development, right? Or whole requirement. But the thing is that if your client is not giving the requirement in that way, means now the development needs to be little bit different. You can't follow the same process, so they have developed a different model for that kind of requirement. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So we'll in depth go through it for sure. This is just a high level glance of it. Okay. So SDLC has basically seven different stages. These are the 7 stages under SDLC we do have, and under SDLC we do have 6 models. First one is waterfall model, spiral model, VNV model, prototype model, hybrid model, and agile model. So what are these models? These models are nothing but the processes that tells you how to develop a particular software. Now development here includes whole project development, means development plus testing, architecture, design, everything. Okay, so the basic idea is that the one person who in the beginning itself has proposed this particular model SDLC, which is a generic process. But if you have a unique requirement in your hand and which matches any of the model, you can go with any of the model, and that model helps you develop a particular good quality software. Okay, so the basic idea is that this is your models, these are your models, and the stages which is there under SDLC are the same stages which is there under waterfall model also. The waterfall model, if you go and see this waterfall model, this have the same stages, but a waterfall model comes with their own specific requirement. Okay, so if someone asks you what is SDLC, or if someone asks you what is waterfall model, steps remain the same, just the theory part got changed. Okay. So what is, if someone asks you what is SDLC, what should be your answer? SDLC stands for software development lifecycle. It's a step-by-step process of developing a software, and this is the stages: requirement collection, feasibility study, design, coding, testing, installation, and maintenance. And we do have 5 different SDLC models: waterfall model, spiral model, BNB model, prototype model, hybrid, and agile. So this basically tells the developer or the person who is handling the project how exactly you need to proceed with it with the particular project, and how exactly we need to develop a software. And these are different models. If you find that a relevant requirement of your project with this kind of any of this particular model, you can go with that particular model and you can develop a software out of that particular model. But when someone asks you what is waterfall model has its own tendency. You can see it here. This is the tendency. This is the theory of waterfall model. What is waterfall model? Waterfall model is the very first model which is being developed in the industry. From SDLC, the very first driven model is the waterfall model. That is the main reason we do have same stages under waterfall model also. But waterfall model क्या बोलता है? waterfall model बोलता है once the user gives the requirement and we complete this requirement collection stage, their requirement will be freezed. Means if today I freeze the requirement, after 3-4 days customer came in and say that I need a change in the requirement, you will not accept those changes. Once the requirement collection stage is done, you will not at all accept those changes. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So this is the rule of waterfall model. This is nothing to do with SDLC SDLC stages, right? So basic idea is that this is how the SDLC and waterfall model differs. First of all, waterfall model is a part of SDLC and waterfall model. Second difference will be right requirement freezing capacity, which is there in waterfall model. Now the tendency of waterfall model is that why it is known as waterfall model, because it will flow at one direction. देखो जैसे वाटरफॉल एक डायरेक्शन में बहता है ना, उल्टा थोड़ी ना बहता है. नीचे से ऊपर कभी बहते हुए देखे हो क्या वाटरफॉल? ऑब्वियसली नहीं बहता है. तो ऐसे ही ना ये स्टेजेस एक डायरेक्शन में चलते हैं. Once you complete requirement collection, then you go to feasibility study, then you go to design, then you go to coding, then you go to testing. This will be the direction. It's a linear and sequential activity, sequential phase. This is a linear. Why we call it as linear? This go in one direction. और sequential क्यों बोलते हैं? You can't interchange the stages. Your test, you can't put coding here, you can't put feasibility study here, you can't put designing here, testing here. You can't interchange. Okay, basic idea is that you can't interchange. But what exactly you can do? You can basically follow this particular model and try to develop a good quality software, and you have to go with one direction. You can't go down to up. Okay, so these are the stages. This is the theory of waterfall model, which is very first model. You also call waterfall model as a traditional model. Okay, what do you call it as? Traditional model. If someone asks you what is waterfall model, what is traditional model, the answer should be same. Now coming up to the first stage, which is called as requirement collection. I do have a diagram for that. Don't worry. Where is that? Feasibility study, requirement collection. Yeah. So on a higher level, if you want to understand what is requirement collection, it is just gathering requirement from the client side. Okay. For an example, this is your Citibank. For an example, this is your Citibank. This is your Citibank. Citibank is earlier running their business manually. What they are doing, they are maintaining register and all, and they are doing their work, right? If for an example, customer 1 wants a loan, customer 2 wants to do the transaction, customer 3 wants to change his number in the bank account, and customer 4 also wants to do transaction. For every person to handle, there will be a for every customer to handle, there will be a person who is maintaining their registers and all. ये सब manually चल रहा था. So for first to serve first person, it will take 10 to 20 minutes. Second person 20 to 30 minutes. Third person then it will also take 10 to 20 minutes. So in order to get served, this fourth person to get served, it will take around 1.5 hours. Correct? Isn't it? ये होता था पहले बैंक पे बहुत ज्यादा टाइम लगता था. Isn't it? So basic idea is that if the Citibank is running their business manually, it will take a lot of time for the customer to get served. And if the rival of Citibank, for an example, State Bank is running their business online, it will take lesser time. Correct? State Bank will serve their customer in a shorter duration of time. What customer will do if they get to know that State Bank is serving them in a shorter duration of time, they will migrate. They will migrate from Citibank to State Bank, isn't it? They will go. So the problem they will recognize the problem. The company will recognize the problem. From here itself, the need of having a software will evolve in their own companies in Citibank. So they will do what? They will ask for a software, and obviously Citibank employees can't generate a software by themselves. Correct? वो तो नहीं कर सकते. What they will do? They will hire someone. They will say that can you develop a software to me, to IT companies. IT companies like Wipro and TCS. So what will happen? In order to develop a software, they need to give a requirement. Okay, I want a software wherein a customer should be able to transfer the money to another person. I want a software where the customer should be able to change their phone number from the account, right? So they will give the requirement. The bank manager, for an example, bank manager of the Citibank will give the requirement. First of all, Citibank CEO will contact Wipro, and Wipro will say that, yeah, we can develop your software. Now Wipro will assign for this particular project, Wipro will assign a project manager who will manage the whole project. Now project manager will definitely, from Wipro itself, he'll pick a particular business analyst who is expert in this banking business, and he will ask this business analyst to go to Citibank. He will go to Citibank, or he will connect with this bank manager by any means, by online or anything, and he will collect, the bank manager will collect the requirement, business analyst will collect the requirement from this bank manager. Whatever he will say, he'll write down each and everything. He'll write down in which document? He'll write down in CRS. This is customer requirement specification. So this is the very first requirement you got from the customer side. You will document everything. Business analyst will document everything, every detail given by the customer, and he'll write and he'll create a CRS, customer requirement specification. Okay. Now he'll come back to Wipro. Once he come back to Wipro, what he'll do, this particular CRS, he'll convert into SRS, software requirement specification. So this CRS will be converted into SRS. Okay, the customer requirement specification will get converted into SRS. What is the whole process? There will be a guy called business analyst. He'll go to the customer end or connect with customer. He'll collect the requirement. Once he collects the requirement, he'll create a document called CRS, wherein all the requirement which is given by the customer end will be collected. Now once he come back to his own place, basically IT guy comes back, then he'll convert the CRS into SRS, customer requirement specification, into software requirement specification. This is the whole process. Now let's understand few more things in here. So basically, business analyst is the person who gathers the requirement from the customer end. Now for different domain, the business analyst will be different. For education domain, a business analyst will be different, who has a better knowledge of education domain. For banking domain, the business analyst will be different, who has a better understanding of banking domain. For e-commerce domain, the business analyst will be different. The healthcare domain, the business analyst will be different. For different type of domain, different type of businesses, they will hire a specialized guy from that particular domain, so that he can understand the customer's requirement in a better way. समझ रहे हो? अगर तुमको गाड़ियों का नॉलेज है और मैं तुमको बोलूंगा कि जाओ और तुम एक क्लास लो जहां पर तुम फिजिक्स पढ़ाओ, तो तुम पढ़ा पाओगे क्या? नहीं पढ़ा पाओगे ना. So no, obviously you will be not be able to. So if I give you the same job, right? If you have a better knowledge of automobiles, I will tell you, go and teach how car works in a class. तुम पढ़ा लोगे, correct? कुछ तो पढ़ाई दोगे, correct? The thing is that the same thing is working here, right? अगर तुम एक specific domain की knowledge वाले बंदे को दूसरे domain का project का requirement collect करने भेजते हो, the problem is that he might miss some of the information, right? He or she, the particular person, might miss some of the information given by the customer. So we hire a specific guy who can understand the business term. For an example, कोई banking domain का बंदा हुआ, उसको कोई बोल रहा है floating, बैंक मैनेजर बोल रहा है floating interest and fixed interest, अगर तो वो समझ लेगा. बट अगर कोई बैंकिंग डोमेन का नहीं हुआ है, वो एजुकेशन डोमेन का है, तो अगर उसको कोई बोल रहा है कि फिक्स्ड इंटरेस्ट, फ्लोटिंग इंटरेस्ट, तो उसको नहीं समझ में आए अच्छे से कि ये क्या बोल रहा है. But a person who have already worked in a bank, or who has a 7 to 8 years of experience of a banking project itself, he'll get to know that we kya bol rahe, correct? So the same logic applies here. So whenever we send the business analyst, we make sure that not exactly we, project manager will send a business analyst. He'll make sure that कि जो business analyst है उस domain से relevant है, जिस domain का particular requirement collection हो रहा है. Okay. Now, who can become a business analyst? any domain expert can become a business analyst. अभी देखो यहाँ पर ये बैंक मैनेजर है. If this bank manager will think to have a switch from this banking job to a IT guy, so he can also become a business analyst. If this bank manager wants to switch, he can also become a business analyst. How? He has to just give a course or do a certification of how to become a business analyst, and then he'll be good enough to become a business analyst of a banking domain, because he has a continuous experience of a banking. He know that how banking works, right? So he'll be able to do what? He'll be able to get a job as a business analyst in IT company.
Sir, or एक
Now,
बार
okay, good. So a basic idea is that if this bank manager, you know this bank manager, now bank manager of Citibank, okay? If this bank manager wants to get a job in IT company, quit his bank manager's job and get a job in IT company, he can become this business analyst. How he can become? He needs to just do a certification, and then he'll be good enough to become a business analyst of a banking domain. A banking domain में ही क्यों? क्योंकि बेसिक आइडिया ये है कि इसको इस पर्टिकुलर डोमेन का एक्सपीरियंस है, इसको पता है कि ये पूरा डोमेन, ये पूरा बिजनेस, बैंकिंग बिजनेस कैसे चलता है. He can just do a certification on how to work in IT, what is the job role of a business analyst, and then वो इस जो दूसरे बैंक का जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट कलेक्शन करने जाएगा उसको सब इन एंड आउट पता होगा, तो he'll be able to collect the requirement, correct? सिमिलरली अगर कोई टीचर होगा या हेडमास्टर होगा या फिर प्रिंसिपल होगा कहीं, जिसको पता है कि एजुकेशन डोमेन कैसा चलता है, so he'll be good enough, he has a continuous experience ना. वो अगर 5-6 साल से प्रिंसिपल है, so he know that how school works, how colleges works. So he'll be doing what? He'll be doing the certification and he'll be good enough to become a business analyst of a education domain. Got it?
yes sir.
Cool. अभी देखो इसके अलावा और कौन बन सकता है? इसके अलावा सीनियर डेवलपर, सीनियर टेस्ट इंजीनियर भी बन सकते हैं बिजनेस एनालिस्ट if they have a continuous or same domain experience. For an example, मेरे को हेल्थ केयर का 7 से 8 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है, and if I want to switch from a test engineer, test lead to a test manager to a business analyst, so I can switch to a business analyst. But although business analyst is a non-technical job, it pays well, but it's a non-technical job. The growth is till at some extent. And in a technical job, you will see immense growth, right? Management job, you will not see that much growth. उसमें थोड़ा पॉलिटिक्स भी होता है. टेक्निकल जॉब में यू स्विच टू अनदर कंपनी, यू गेट अ बेटर पैकेज. ठीक है. तो द बेसिक आइडिया इज दैट सीनियर टेस्ट इंजीनियर, सीनियर डेवलपर जिसको एक डोमेन का कंटिन्यूअस एक्सपीरियंस है, नाउ आफ्टर दिस अमाउंट ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस, नो यू विल गेट टू नो दैट कि कैसे पूरा डोमेन काम करता है, कैसे पूरा बैंकिंग बिजनेस काम करता है, कैसे पूरा हेल्थ केयर बिजनेस काम करता है. नाउ इफ यू हैव अ कंटिन्यूअस एक्सपीरियंस, यू डू द सर्टिफिकेशन, यू विल बी गुड इनफ टू बिकम अ बिजनेस एनालिस्ट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर डोमेन. Got it? These people can become a business analyst. Okay,
Okay.
cool. Now one more thing. Initially we have understood here that this business analyst will collect the requirement and create a document initially as a CRS, customer requirement specification. Then he will be doing what? He will be converting the CRS into SRS, correct? So what is this CRS? What is this SRS? What is customer requirement specification? What is software requirement specification? So CRS stands for customer requirement specification. It's a document which will contain a lot of business terms, and it will be in business language. CRS जो डॉक्यूमेंट इनिशियली यहाँ पर तुम कस्टमर से कनेक्ट करके कलेक्ट करते हो, ये जो रिक्वायरमेंट कलेक्ट करते हो, ये पूरी बिजनेस लैंग्वेज में होगी. इसमें वो टर्म्स होंगे जो बिजनेस रेलेवेंट होंगे, उस पर्टिकुलर बिजनेस से रेलेवेंट होंगे. फॉर एन एग्जांपल, ये बैंकिंग डोमेन का प्रोजेक्ट है, तो इसमें बहुत सारे टर्म्स होंगे, फिक्स्ड इंटरेस्ट, फ्लोटिंग इंटरेस्ट, समथिंग लाइक दैट, अ लॉट ऑफ बिजनेस रेलेवेंट टर्म. ठीक है. तो ये अगर यही रिक्वायरमेंट तुम डेवलपर और टेस्टर्स को दे दोगे टेस्ट करने के लिए और डेवलप करने के लिए, they might misunderstood the requirement or they might not understood it properly. समझ रहे हो? या तो वो उसको गलत ही समझ लेंगे, कुछ हो सकता है, ये भी चांस है, या तो उनको वो अच्छे से समझ में नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि इसमें बहुत सारे ऐसे टर्म होंगे जो उनको नहीं पता होंगे कि ये कैसे काम करता है. करेक्ट. So this CRS can't be hand over directly to the developer and test engineer. they need a requirement in this way. If a user open this screen, that should be the functionality, and that should be the screen he needs to see. He needs a software in a he needs a requirement in a software language, wherein the terms like screen, radio button, checkbox, something like that, those terms are being used so that they can understand the requirement properly. Getting my point? Yes, no, anything?
Yes, sir.
Guys, cool. So basic idea is that this CRS can't be handed over to the developer and test engineer. That is the main reason this CRS is being converted to SRS from by basically your business analyst. Now देखो, अगर बैंक मैनेजर बिजनेस एनालिस्ट बनना चाह रहा है तो बेसिकली ही नीड्स टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू कन्वर्ट सीआरएस इनटू एसआरएस, देन ही नो एवरीथिंग अबाउट सीआरएस. ठीक है, he can create a CRS document, but in order to become a business analyst, this is also a role of business analyst to convert CRS into SRS. He needs to learn that particular part. ठीक है, got it everyone?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So अब देखो यहाँ पर तुम्हारे पास दो टाइप के क्लाइंट, तुम्हारे पास दो टाइप की कंपनीज है ना बाहर पर. If you are going out and getting a job, there are two types of companies you can get placed. Either it could be a product based company, either it could be a service based company. बहुत लोगों ने सुना होगा, बहुत लोगों ने नहीं सुना होगा. करेक्ट. तो क्या होता है, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड कंपनी एंड सर्विस बेस्ड कंपनी? एनीवन?
प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड कंपनी मतलब जो लोग प्रोडक्ट बनाते हैं जैसे गूगल, अमेजन, वो सब
करेक्ट.
प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड कंपनी. और सर्विस
और
बेस्ड
सर्विस,
टीसीएस, इन्फोसिस जो सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं.
correct. So basically product based companies could be any company which offers you a product. जैसे तुम्हारी महिंद्रा हो गई, जैसे तुम्हारा जियो हो गया. जियो सर्विस बेस्ड कंपनी की प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड कंपनी?
प्रोडक्ट
हाइब्रिड है ना, सर्विस भी देती है. जियो का वाईफाई तुम यूज करते हो, वो प्रोडक्ट ऑफर थोड़ी ना कर रहा है, वो तुमको सर्विस दे रहा है, इंटरनेट सर्विस प्रोवाइडर है वो. करेक्ट. तो ये सर्विस है, लेकिन जियो के फोन्स भी आते हैं, जियो मार्ट भी है बेसिकली, तो प्रोडक्ट भी देता है, खुद का प्रोडक्ट भी है उसका. करेक्ट. So the basic idea is that the Jio is a hybrid company. But for an example, we are talking about Infosys. Infosys is a product-based company or your service-based company.
सर्विस.
Infosys is a service-based company. Why Infosys is a service-based company? Because it's offer you a service. It will not give you a product, but it will take the requirement from you. It will develop a software for you and give you the software. इन्फोसिस का खुद का लाइट बल्ब नहीं आता है, इन्फोसिस का खुद का वाटर बॉटल नहीं आता है, इन्फोसिस का खुद का फोन नहीं आता है, बट इट ऑफर्स यू अ सर्विस, a particular service. You give me this work, I'll serve you and I'll get the money. This way the company is working. So either you'll get to do a job in a service based company or a product based company. Service based company gives you a wider knowledge, because in service based company you'll get a different technologies to get to work on. Product based company will be working in a certain technology and you will get the experience in a certain technology only. सर्विस बेस्ड कंपनी में मल्टीपल प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं, प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड कंपनी में उनके खुद के प्रोडक्ट्स के जो प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं उसी पे तुम काम करते हो. बट प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड कंपनीज गिव यू अ गुड पैकेज कंपेयर टू सर्विस बेस्ड कंपनी. ठीक है, गॉट इट एवरीवन?
Yes.
So this is requirement collection stage. What is from where it will start? It will start from collecting the requirement from the customer side by the business analyst, create a CRS, and CRS then later on get converted into SRS. Once this process is done, requirement will be freezed in waterfall model. The requirement will be freezed in the sense, as soon as this particular stage completes, you collect whole requirement. If next day customer came in and try to manipulate the requirement, you'll say no, it is freezed now. Okay, this is the tendency, this is the behavior of waterfall model, or you can say that this is the rule of waterfall model. Second is basically feasibility study. Feasibility study क्या होता है? I do have one more diagram for that. Where is that? This one. Okay. So this feasibility study is basically a meeting to understand how much this project is feasible for your company. For an example, Wipro is taking this project, so they will conduct a feasibility meeting to understand whether they can take up this project or not. करने योग्य है या फिर तुम ये बोल सकते हो कि हमारी कंपनी इस प्रोजेक्ट को हैंडल कर सकती है कि नहीं कर सकती है विद एवरी एस्पेक्ट. ठीक है, तो प्रोजेक्ट देयर विल बी 5 पर्सन will be there in this particular meeting, or will be there in this participating in this particular stage, which is feasibility study. Okay, second stage of waterfall model. There will be 5 person. First one is project manager, then business analyst, finance manager, architect and human resource HR. ठीक है, जो लोग बोलते हैं ना HR कुछ नहीं करते, HR बहुत कुछ करते हैं. ठीक है. First one is business analyst. He just collected the requirement from the customer side. In front of everyone, he'll explain the requirement on a higher level. He'll explain the project's requirement on a higher level. Okay, in this project, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. Customer wants this, customer wants that. Everything he'll pitch. He'll pitch the whole project in front of everyone here: project manager, human resource, architect, and finance manager. Then basically architect will pitch, and architect will say whether this, in order to complete this particular project, do we have a sufficient technology or not in our company. Technology in the sense, for an example, you need to do compatibility testing. Do we have browser stacks and perfecto kind of technology here? In order to do automation, do we have automation tool in our project? And then etc, whatever technology is needed. Do we have an ample amount of server in order to do this project? Something like that. Okay, so architect will take up the call whether this project is technically feasible, technically doable or not. Okay, so architect will understand the project and architect will pitch whether it is technically doable or not. Then HR will be taking up another call, the second call, whether do we have sufficient amount of employee in order to do this project or not. ये प्रोजेक्ट में 100 एम्प्लॉय लगेंगे, तो हमारे पास अभी 100 एम्प्लॉय है कि नहीं है इस प्रोजेक्ट को करने के लिए. इफ नॉट, देन he'll be hiring those employees. And then first, for an example, we need a automation 10 automation engineer, we just have 8. So first of all, he'll try to find internally, and if there is a manual tester who has a knowledge and who can become an automation tester. Okay, so he'll search internally. If not, then he'll hire from outside, he'll outsource it. So eventually he'll take up the call whether we have a sufficient employee to basically do this project, whether it is feasible in terms of human resource or not. Okay, then third call will be taken by finance manager. Finance manager will calculate the expense, calculate the budget, and try to basically call whether it is financially feasible or not. Means basically project is profitable or not. ठीक है, so ये तीनों की बात सुनने के बाद project manager will finally take up the call whether to take this project or not after listening to everyone. Basically सबको समझ में आ गया feasibility study में क्या होता है? Everyone got that?
सर पहले बिजनेस एनालिस्ट में आ गया.
हाँ, सबसे पहले बिजनेस एनालिस्ट पिच करेगा प्रोजेक्ट.
ओके,
ये सब लोग एक साथ ही बैठे होंगे, लाइक यू कैन सी इट एज अ मीटिंग ओनली. ठीक है, दे विल कनेक्ट टुगेदर एंड दे विल डिस्कस. ठीक है,
ओके सर.
कूल. और कोई इस पे डाउट अभी तक? यस, नो, एनीथिंग एल्स? नो, cool.
No.
I'll take it as no. Okay, cool. So this is a feasibility study. Third stage is design. Design happens in, first of all, you will enter in design until unless you will not accept the project, you will not enter in design, right? अगर तुम्हारा प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर फिजिबिलिटी स्टडी में ही बोल देता है नहीं लेना प्रोजेक्ट, तो प्रोजेक्ट इज एंड. ओके, there is no way you are entering in design. ठीक है, so once after this feasibility study, you will enter in design stage. Design happens in 2 levels: high level and low level. High level is basically your server level, your request level architecture which you need to follow in order to develop this project. For an example, request level is basically what API you have to use. There are certain types of API. API you have to use, what web services you have to use, how will your request will go to the server, how it will be handled by a server, how response will get generated, and how it will get served to the client. This basically whole thing will be designed first of all by senior architect in a high level design. The whole request level, the server level architectural design. सबको समझ में आया क्या बोल रहा हूँ मैं? Yes, no, anything?
And please repeat.
The high level design is
Repeat
done by
once
senior
again.
architect. Okay, huh? Sorry. Hello. didn't
I
catch
said
you.
repeat once again, sir.
Sure. देखो सबसे पहले होता है डिजाइन दो टाइप का. फर्स्ट वन इज हाई लेवल डिजाइन, सेकंड वन इज लो लेवल डिजाइन. नाउ हाई लेवल डिजाइन विल बी डन बाय सीनियर डेवलपर और सीनियर आर्किटेक्ट. क्योंकि ये जो डिजाइनिंग होती है, ये जो आर्किटेक्चर होता है, ये सर्वर लेवल पे, रिक्वेस्ट लेवल पे होता है. रिक्वेस्ट जनरेट होती है, तुमको पता है जब भी तुम कोई एप्लीकेशन पे कुछ भी हिट करते हो, इट विल ट्रिगर अ रिक्वेस्ट फ्रॉम योर एंड टू द सर्वर. So this particular thing happens with the help of APIs. API कैरी करता है तुम्हारा डेटा सर्वर तक और सर्वर से रिस्पॉन्स लेके आता है तुम तक. ठीक है. API is application programming interface. You can assume in this way. For an example, you went to a hotel and you ordered something. Now, when you ordered, you are a client. When chef cooks that particular product, chef is a server. So you are not directly going to the chef and giving the order, but instead of that, you are using a waiter. Now waiter is taking your order to the chef. Chef is generating your response for you, and then the waiter is taking that particular response to you again. Correct. So what kind of API you have to use, how server will generate the request, how it will go to the server, how response will come to you, all this kind of architecture. इसमें बहुत सारे configuration हो सकते हैं. How this architecture needs to be for this particular project, इस चीज को डिजाइन करने को हाई लेवल डिजाइन बोलते हैं. समझ गए?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
सबको समझ में आया? ठीक है. So this high level design will be done by senior architect or senior developer. ठीक है. Now coming up to the next one, that is low level. Now low level is what we can see at as a Figma and all, right? Low level design is on action of a certain user, what should be the reaction. That is low level design. For an example, let's go to Chrome. Facebook. For an example, if a user hits this particular www.facebook.com, what should be the behavior of that particular app? And if I have just given my user ID and password and clicked on login button, on this action, what should be the behavior of the software? What should be the reaction of the software? Getting my point? So this basically these are the behavior you need to do. You need to design in the low level design. On certain action, what should be the screen? If it is giving an error, what should be the error? Something like that. Getting my point? This is low level design. Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
On a certain action, what should be the behavior? While clicking on this thing, what should be the behavior? What should be the screen? What should be the behavior of the software? Cool. Now let's go to third step, fourth step. Sorry, fourth step. After the low level design acts as a blueprint. जैसे ना Figma design दिखाया था ना. Figma, when you develop a Figma prototype, there could be a static prototype, there could be a dynamic prototype. जब तुम Figma design बनाते हो, या तो वो static हो सकता है, तो dynamic हो सकता है. So it basically tells you the flow of the application. Na? If a user taps on here, it will show you this screen. If a user taps on there, it will show you that screen. Something like that, right? They will tell you the flow. They will tell you the behavior of that particular screen. with the help of Figma. That whole thing comes under low level design, and that whole thing acts as a blueprint of the application. What does blueprint do? अगर हम लोग अभी building बनाते हैं and the engineer will create a blueprint, then what does that blueprint do for your building, construction of building? What do you think? क्या करता है वो blueprint? The blueprint act as a root document of that construction. Based on that blueprint only, the construction will happen, isn't it? The same goes with software. When a low-level design has been created, whole software will get developed according to that low-level design only. Okay? We are not talking about architectural level. Architectural level में blueprint create नहीं होता है, but low level design में जो designs create होते हैं, उस design के basis पे ही screens और या फिर application का UI design होता है, interface create होता है और functionality develop की जाती है. Okay? So this is all about design stage. Once you are done with feasibility study, you entered in design, you did high level design and low level design. Till here, software doesn't exist. अगर तुम देखोगे ये सब डिजाइन वगैरह ना ऑन पेपर ही है, राइट? फिजिबिलिटी रिक्वायरमेंट्स कलेक्शन ऑन पेपर, फिजिबिलिटी स्टडी ऑन पेपर, डिजाइन ऑन पेपर. Till here, software doesn't exist. Right after that, we have coding. Coding is basically that stage where software came to an existence. Coding में software existence पे आता है. Depending upon your low level design, the developer will develop a software. Whole software will be developed if the requirement says A to Z. Requirement number 1 is A, requirement number 100 is Z, something like that. So whole development, development of that particular production of that particular software will happen here, right? So coding, under coding, they will develop whole requirement at one go. एक बार में पूरी requirement बना देते हैं under waterfall model. First they will complete the whole development, and then once they are done with coding, once they are done with development of the software, they will jump on to testing. But the thing is that this is the earlier way of doing waterfall model. Waterfall model आया था 1980s में, 1980s में आया था, 1982 something 85 something like that, right? 1980s 1990s में आया था. So basic idea is that when this particular model get developed, no, there is a concept of testing. They know that they need to test the application, but there is no specific role for testers. Developer only used to do the testing. That's why they develop the whole software first and then they do the testing. Getting my point? So currently, if you see in the industry, the waterfall model they're following, testing and development happens parallelly. Two modules get developed, it will go for testing. Testers will do the testing thing, right? Currently it is like that, but earlier when it get developed, what used to happen? First, development will be done by the developer under coding stage, and then those developer only come to testing stage and do the testing of their own product. But the problem is there, if you develop the same thing, no, if you have developed something, the chances of getting a defect in that particular thing will be very less. अगर तुमने कुछ बनाया उसको नेगेटिव स्टैंड पॉइंट से देखना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है, करेक्ट? Isn't it? सेकेंडरी, जब तुम कोई चीज को ना बनते हुए ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम देखते हो, तो तुम यूज्ड टू हो जाते हो उसको वैसे देखने के लिए. फॉर एन एग्जांपल, यू आर अंडर अ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, यू आर गोइंग टू जिम, right? You are under a weight loss journey. You are seeing yourself every day. So the person who is seeing you every day will not see the difference, but the person who will see at a certain after a certain duration, he'll get to know that, oh, you are looking slim. They will tell you that you are looking slim, correct? So the person who is observing you after a certain period of time will get the difference, but the person who is seeing you, on a daily basis might not get the difference. So the observation tendency of a developer who has developed that particular product and who is only testing, compared to that observation tendency of a tester who is freshly seeing that particular product, what do you think, whose tendency, observation capacity will be greater? Tester or developer? Obviously tester, correct? But the thing is that that's why they later on figure it out that okay, developer develop कर रहा है, tester को test करना चाहिए. There should not be like developer is only testing that particular product, because and they might end up missing some sort of bugs, and then basically that will end up having a production defects and all, right? That will eventually go for customer loss. So basic idea is that later on they figure it out, okay, we need to have testers, and testing and development needs to happen parallelly in order to save some sort of time. But earlier क्या होता था, earlier पूरा developer बैठ के development करता था under coding stage, पूरी A to Z रिक्वायरमेंट डेवलप कर लेता था, पूरा सॉफ्टवेयर बना लेता था, उसके बाद टेस्टिंग फेज में जाता था, वही डेवलपर टेस्ट करता था. ओके, गॉट इट. अभी तुम लोग ट्रेडिशनल वे में ही पढ़ो. when we'll start agile, I'll compare agile with waterfall model. तब मैं तुमको जो current industry में waterfall model use कैसे होता है वो बता दूंगा. ठीक है. Now the traditional way is basically after designing, coding will happen. Senior developer, junior developer, intern will develop this software. Obviously senior developer most critical functionalities को develop करेगा, junior developer उससे less critical functionality को develop करेगा, और associate analyst or basically your interns will hand over very less critical functionality like help and feedback and everything like that. ठीक है. So the basic idea is that the same thing happens in testers job also. Senior tester used to handle the most critical one, junior tester will handle the less severe one, and then associate analyst will be handling the very less critical features. But basically in traditional model this thing doesn't exist in early 90s. So early 90s क्या होता था, developer ही test करते थे. Okay, got it. तो देखो यहाँ पर कोडिंग में पूरा सॉफ्टवेयर तुमने डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द लो लेवल डिजाइन डेवलप कर लिया. टेस्टिंग में उन लोगों ने रिक्वायरमेंट उठाई, रिक्वायरमेंट के अगेंस्ट सॉफ्टवेयर को टेस्ट कर लिया. किसने किया? डेवलपर ने ही किया. सो राइट आफ्टर द कोडिंग एंड टेस्टिंग what will happen? Installation will happen. Obviously once you are done with testing stage, basically you need to deliver the software to the customer. It can happen in two ways. First approach is basically your field engineer or your release engineer will take up the software from your end, go to the customer end and try to install in their production server. Your field engineer and your release engineer. Currently these kind of jobs will be done by mostly DevOps, but there are certain field engineer and release engineer also who used to deploy to the other server. This is your first approach. Now second approach is basically sometimes customer doesn't want you to interact with their production server because it has sensitive data. अभी देखो तुम SBI के सर्वर में कोई देगा तुमको एक्सेस, SBI के सर्वर जाओ और सॉफ्टवेयर इंस्टॉल कर लो, ऑब्वियसली नहीं देगा. It's a very critical thing to have, right? So basic idea is that what will happen, instead of having your field engineer and test engineer, sorry, not test engineer, release engineer, your field engineer and release engineer interact with their own interact with their server, they will send their own field engineer and release engineer from SBI side, whatever you call it, Citibank side. They will send their own, customer will send their own field engineer and release engineer. They will understand how to install the software, take up the software from your end, go to their server and install it. Got it? So these are two approaches. Everyone is clear? Yes, no, anything?
Yes.
Cool. Now the last stage of waterfall model is basically your maintenance. Now if you buy any product, right, it comes with a certain warranty period which has a certain condition. Okay, physical breakdown is not covered, only internal damage is covered, something like that. For an example, you bought a Sony headphone, right? Now they give you a warranty period of 5 months or 6 months like that, right? And they will tell that under this warranty period, if you find any internal breakage, we'll try to replace your product, we'll try to give you a new product basically, right? So the basic idea is that if it happens like this to a product which is sold by a product-based company, it also happens with the service-based company. Service-based company, if they're giving you a service, if they are offering a product to you after the completion of a certain development, your product, basically they give a maintenance period. ये MOU में साइन हो जाता है सबसे पहले जब बिगिनिंग ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट ये साइन हो जाता है कि दीज आर द मेंटेनेंस पीरियड कंडीशन एंड इट विल वैरी फ्रॉम प्रोजेक्ट टू प्रोजेक्ट ऑब्वियसली राइट। कोई प्रोजेक्ट अगर बहुत पुराना है तुम्हारी कंपनी में तो तुम्हारी कंपनी उसको बेटर मेंटेनेंस पीरियड और फैसिलिटी प्रोवाइड करेगी। अगर नया नया है तो उसको मे बी लेस सपोर्टिव हो उसके लिए बेसिकली, या फिर वाइस वर्सा भी हो सकता है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द बिजनेस लॉजिक। ठीक है, तो बेसिक आइडिया इज दैट ये तुम्हारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में लिखा होता है और अंडर दिस मेंटेनेंस पीरियड मे बी यू आर फिक्सिंग एवरी माइनर बग्स फॉर फ्री जब तुमने इंस्टॉल कर दिया प्रोडक्शन में सर्वर पे। एंड इफ यू आर अंडर serving under maintenance period, so basically there might be chances you are giving the support for free, you are doing the bug fix for free, but for minor changes and update you are charging something, right, something like that। और डिपेंड करता है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के ऊपर। जो मेंटेनेंस पीरियड होती है, मेंटेनेंस पीरियड अंडर मेंटेनेंस पीरियड इट सी इट हियर राइट, 20 to 30% team will be retained। For an example, 200 people are working in this particular project, 40% they will retain under maintenance period for this particular project। That's why you have heard that तुम्हारे कोई भैया अगर होंगे IT में तो they might be saying in this way right, यार support पे डाल दिया। What is support? To support a already released product, if there is any kind of breakage, your developer will fix that break, right? You have to first retest it and then you will move that particular fix to the production। So this is the process। So as a tester, if you are supporting a particular product which is already there in production, you have to do this work, right? So any bug fixes you have to support, any support needed, कहीं पर कुछ क्लाइंट को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है वो अगर सपोर्ट चाहिए, वॉक थ्रू चाहिए, तो यू विल बी देयर। minor updates to verify those updates will be there। So this 20 to 30% team will be retained and rest all team will be moved on to next project। Okay, are we clear with this particular whole waterfall model?
Yes,
पूरा
sir.
थ्योरी है। यहाँ से आगे जितना भी मेंटेनेंस बोला मैनुअल टेस्टिंग में है, एवरीथिंग इज थ्योरी ओनली। ठीक है,
ओके सर।
बट देर इज वन थिंग विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। देखो ये SDLC में लास्ट तुम्हारा मॉडल है अजाइल। अजाइल इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट because currently in industry how every company is mostly working is basically agile। so if you know how agile thing works, you will be knowing कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो उस particular project में, क्या तुम्हारा रोल है, कौन सी फेज में प्रोजेक्ट है, एंड सामने वाला भी क्या कर रहा है। so you will get a better understanding how things are working if you know agile। ठीक है, also with interview point of point of view, your agile is very important because if you know agile they will like consider you more। ठीक है, बिकॉज उसी बेसिस पे आजकल प्रोजेक्ट हो रहे हैं। तो बेसिकली हर प्रोजेक्ट समझना, बट अजाइल को दिल दिमाग सब कुछ खोल के समझना। ठीक है, cool। any questions before we wrap it up for today?
No,
No, cool। I'll send this PPT in group। thank you, have a nice day guys, bye bye।
sir.